गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. So we are in Amrutanubhav, chapter 4, undifferentiated consciousness, verse number 2. 2 शायद हमने कंप्लीट कर दिया था. Completed. So here it was told what undifferentiated in this chapter कि how the difference is jnana ajnana. Jnana is also a thought, ajnana is also a thought. And thought knowledge, are you able to see clearly or hear clearly? ये light कम है.
It is little blur, Swamiji.
Okay, one moment. Better?
Much better, Swamiji.
So, that undifferentiated consciousness, that one that is our essential nature, is the reality. And we are that. That is what we are continuously moving towards. Nature is also forcing us to go there. Not forcing us, pushing us to go there. But हम भी तो ढीठ है ना. We are also stubborn. We don't want to. We don't want to recognize. We want to hold on to the world. We want to hold on to the thoughts. We want to be a slave of our mind. And we are searching what? This bliss, which is our nature, unfortunately, under the spell of ignorance, we are searching for it in the world, through relations, through objects, through experiences, and all these things from which people and persons, sentient, insentient, experiences, all experiences of the that we have are only finite, and therefore the bliss that we are experiencing is also finite. And we think that the bliss is coming from outside. That is not true. Bliss is our nature. The moment thought subsides, the bliss which is our nature, it expresses. This cycle of searching for bliss from outside, here in this chapter, outside does not mean we are not even talking about the gross world. We are talking about the mental world, because the whole gross world is in the mind only, by way of thoughts. We are talking about aham and idam. Idam is the world. Aham is the world. Aham as a thought is a world. And so aham is seeking peace, tranquility, joy, satisfaction, fulfillment through idam. And this addiction is keeping him in the loop. And what is his nature? Infinite, undifferentiated consciousness. And if we allow ourselves not to be entangled in the thoughts of the mind, automatically we will be pulled, we will be absorbed into ourselves. Just like when we don't allow ourselves to be entangled in the thoughts of the waking state because of tiredness, because of exhaustion, automatically the sleep pulls us in. Exactly the same way. Are we exhausting ourselves? In the sense, not by getting involved in the world. In the world, you live 110%, physically exhaust. And what is mental exhaustion here? Mental exhaustion is maintenance of extreme alertness. Not a forced alertness, extreme vigilance, not to be entangled in the thoughts. Let them come, let them go, stay apart. And then the absorption will come. Absorption, so mind will merge back into its the I will merge back into its original, as long as you don't go to sleep. If you go to sleep, then it's none, because out of habit we go to sleep. Here we have to break that habit. Whenever our mind becomes free of thoughts, the only thing we know is sleep or death, which we have not experienced yet, but that will happen for those who are identified. We are trying to change the norm. We are on to change our reality. Not reality because of idam, but to be the reality as I am. And in this way, until and unless this I, who is the experiencer, as long as it keeps feeling or keeps having this conviction that whatever is experienced is separate to me. And what is consciousness? Purnamada Purnamidam. What is wave? Wave is thinking all other waves are separate to me. Wave is thinking I am a wave, I have to know the waters. What are we thinking? I am the body, I have to know the pure consciousness. And undifferentiated consciousness is where it is the one. It's the all-inclusive principle. For that we come to satsang. So here when Swamiji says, until that identity between the experienced and experiencer is established and both disappear in the experiencing. This is called Karma Yoga. If you listen to the last lecture of Bhagavad Gita, Jnaneshwari, on Thursday, it's on the YouTube. We are so at one ment with the action that the actor and the action, they become one. That's first stage. We have to come to this recognition that the vision and the objects illumined by the vision are one and the same. We have to come to this conclusion that the mind and the thoughts erupting in the mind are made from the same material. We have to come to know that the cloth that we are wearing, this cloth is nothing but the thread alone. All the creases that are there is nothing but the cloth alone. Because the crease or wrinkles are appearing, wrinkles are not separate to the cloth. Here take the cloth to be the mind. So the wrinkles on the mind are thoughts. They are not separate to the mind. And what is mind? In essence, pure consciousness. With respect, just as Paramashiva with respect to his potentiality is called Shiva, pure consciousness with reference to thoughts is called as mind. Man with reference to the wife is called husband. But he is still, without a man, how that husband will express? That man is expressing in and through the husband. But husband has forgotten that he is a man first. This is the prakriya, this is the methodology. Initially by thinking, but you cannot bring it about, it has to happen. It has to click by grace. And for that purpose we are studying these scriptures, so that one day it clicks to us. Until that identity between the experienced and the experiencer is established and both disappear in the experiencing, one cannot find fulfillment, the struggle. So just like that, I am the experiencer and I want to, between the meditation and this class, I went for a coffee. So the feeling came, I must have a coffee. So I am the experiencer. The thought of the experienced was coffee. Until unless the experiencer I and the experienced coffee, they did not come together and become one, fulfillment was not there. With 2 biscuits. And this is how we are moving in life. Recognize. Until and unless the listener and the listened. So you are the experiencer and you are experiencing the words that are coming to you. Frustration will continue as long as these two remain separate. You have to find a way, and this is the what is being told here. You have to find a way. I have to find a way while I am speaking, that the speaker and the spoken are at one ment. See? Otherwise we'll keep running from one book to another book, from one experience to another experience, thinking that the bliss, the fulfillment is in the object. Here the whole game is being changed. And we know that, but we forget that fulfillment is always in the union. Fulfillment is always in the union. The taster feels fulfilled when he is one with the tasted. The smeller feels fulfilled when he is one with the smell. Experiencer feels fulfilled when he is one with the experienced, whatever it may be. Similarly, we as seekers, we are contemplating on the undifferentiated consciousness. We are contemplating that this I, this aham, which is when I come to realize this aham as it is, which means vritti rahit, without a thought, then true fulfillment will be there. Otherwise, temporary fulfillments, always coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. Now find out, become convinced of this process, become convinced of this data by your own subjective approach, not later while listening, and be. One cannot find fulfillment. The struggle, the frustrations, and the tension will continue. As long as we are trying to find fulfillment through objectivity, through the experienced. In other words, as long as we are seeking fulfillment through thoughts, even if that thought is of I, even if that thought is of I, and you're I am, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahma, it will lead to frustration. Because you are just repeating it like a parrot. After some time frustration will come. यार इतने साल हो गए वही जब कर रहा हूँ, अभी तक क्लिक नहीं हुआ. Whatever that Aham Brahmasmi is indicating, the union between the individual and the infinite, that union between the individual seeker and the infinite individual consciousness and infinite consciousness. Why are we talking about individual consciousness and infinite consciousness? Because you think you are individual. Consciousness doesn't think that it is individual and it is infinite. You have who? Ego. I am only in this body. You have decided. Now get out of it. You have insisted that I am only in this body. You have insisted that I am living. You have insisted that I was born. You have insisted that I am awake right now and I go to sleep and no, you insist. If that helps. Initial stages, that I am the undifferentiated consciousness. And find ways to establish that, and scriptures are the way to establish that. Pure knowledge is that which establishes oneness. This is stated in the next OE. Jnana jiyati pya pari jagi atmaikya kari tai tu surya khotse suri tai se zhale. Similarly, the pure knowledge functions in the duality to attain non-dual experience. It is something like a knife piercing itself. This also we saw. Parvati, the Shakti, multiplies itself so that it can merge into Shiva and experience, be one with Shiva. See? On the other hand, Lord Shiva, when Shakti is multiplying herself, Shiva opens his eyes only to go back into himself. Same here. The pure knowledge functions in the duality. Pure knowledge, how is it functioning in the duality? Aham and idam. To attain non-dual experience. Is that our intention in our life? Are we thinking to attain, to be the undifferentiated consciousness? Or are we thinking to establish duality? Now, this only you can answer to yourself. It is something like a knife piercing itself. As seen in the previous OV, knowledge is that which establishes oneness. Life is the reality and not the differences. He whose attention is on the life principle is established in knowledge. This is what we told in the meditation. The water is not affected by appearance and disappearance of waves. It is lending itself to everyone. The air does not gain anything or lose anything by more people being on this planet to breathe and more people dying and not breathing. Air continues to be air. Space continues to provide accommodation. So many houses are built, space doesn't become less. So many houses are destroyed, space doesn't become more. It continues to be space. Is this our disposition with regards to the consciousness that I am? Do we die with every thought? Do we gain anything from every thought or interaction or experience? When I am looking at the light, I know this light is making me read. Do I get attached to this light because it is making me read? Or do I understand that light is the principle? Electricity is expressing through various bulbs as light. In this room itself, there are so many lights. Do you consider yourself that you are, the life is expressing only through this body and I am that? Well, lag gaye, फिर तो बैंड बज गया. Or is your conviction that I am the consciousness and this consciousness सहस्रशीर्षः पुरुषः सहस्राक्ष सहस्रपात् स भूमिं विश्वतो वृत्वा. This consciousness is alone, expressing behind all the heads, behind all the eyes, behind all the speech, behind all the hands, behind all the feet. Just like it's the same water which is expressing behind all the waves. It is the same gold which is expressing behind all the ornaments. Is the same earth which is expressing through all the pots. It is the same mind which is expressing through all the thoughts. It is the same intellect which is expressing in and through waking, dream and deep sleep. Is the same vision which is illuminating everything. If there is no vision, there can be no objects. Similarly, is the same consciousness which is expressing in and through all the minds. Just like mind is in and through all the thoughts, similarly, this pure consciousness is expressing in and through all the minds, just like electricity is expressing through all the bulbs. Do we have this disposition? Or we are living me and my mind and my worries and my regrets and my anxieties This is called digging your own grave. Spirituality is expansion. Spirituality is coming to that undifferentiated consciousness. And if we are thinking, contemplating, allowing ourselves to be exposed to such thoughts which help us to transcend the thoughts and be the consciousness that we are, or allow all the difference, such thoughts which dissolve the differences and establish the oneness, of the individual consciousness and the infinite consciousness. That is knowledge. He whose attention is on the life principle. Is your attention on the life principle, or is our attention on the thoughts? When your attention is on the gravity, do you think that the gravity is only for you? Or it's a general principle? Everything on this planet, all the people, all the animals, all the trees, everything is functioning on this earth, is staying on the earth because of gravity. In Australia, we are supposed to be upside down, but do we fall? No, we are at the bottom of the earth. We don't fall. How come? Gravity. Now, is it an individual principle or it is a general principle? Think. Yes, you are experiencing it, but it's a general principle. It is common to all. It is not person specific. Similarly, mind is not person specific, it is common, it's a principle. Mind is one. You are imagining that the mind is only in my head. So also consciousness is one. You are imagining. It appears as if there are many individual consciousnesses, just as it appears as if there are many individual waves, many individual ornaments. But it's one space, it is one water, it is one gold. Similarly, it is one consciousness. Is our attention on that? Now, how many times we are told that from childhood till today we have experienced the waking, dream, deep sleep, and you say yes. So, is your attention on the one who knows these three come and go every day? Or is your attention, I am awaker today, I am awake now? You have lost the plot again. You cannot, it's not something to catch, and yet we have to try. We have to give it a go. Otherwise, we again living 1/3 life. The Nitya Tattva that is present in the Anitya Vastu and is the consciousness in all beings, that which is one but appears as many, that is one's own essential nature. How beautifully everything put in one, 2-3 lines. The Nitya Tattva, Nitya means the eternal essence that is present in the non-eternal objects. What is non-eternal? Changing, the changeless, which is present in and through the changing, the permanent, which is present in and through the impermanent, and this permanent principle, this eternal consciousness is the consciousness in all the beings. Is the consciousness, because all the beings, all the individuals, all the living beings, all the inert objects. Here let's talk only about the living beings. So this eternal Vastu, the essence, is the consciousness. Keneshitam. What is that which inspires all the faculties? It is this consciousness which inspires all the faculties. It is this consciousness because of which beings are called sentient. Beings are living beings. If this consciousness is not there, the being is no longer a living being. Is the consciousness in all beings, and this consciousness is one. It is not one per person. It appears that way. The gold is not one per ornament. It appears that way. But gold is a principle, it is infinite. Water is infinite. It appears as if there is one wave, two wave, three wave. There our attention is on the non-eternal. What is that not eternal? Form is not eternal. Our attention is not on the essence. Our attention is on the form. Our attention is on the light. Light can get fused or come on. Our attention is not on the electricity. Come to the general principle. That general principle is the pervasive principle. That which is one, and this one pure consciousness, that which appears as many, that one water appears as many waves, that one consciousness appears as many individual consciousnesses. Because individual consciousnesses are appearing does not mean that they are real. Real is only the one. Because ornaments are appearing does not mean ornaments are real. Gold is real. Because the waves are appearing, waves don't give the status of reality to the waves. Water is real. Water doesn't come and go, waves come and go. Waves have a form, water doesn't have a form. Recognize this about yourself. I am that consciousness. Who is one without a second, but appearing as many. How am I appearing as many? The entire world is in my mind only, by way of thought. This you have to catch in your mind, not outside in the world. That without that, consciousness alone is appearing as mind. And what is mind? The play of aham and idam. What is aham and idam? Expressions of that consciousness, reflected consciousness. So aham is also pervaded by the consciousness, idam is also pervaded by consciousness. Can we come to this conclusion? The man is also pervaded, the husband is also pervaded by the man, the son is also pervaded by the man, the brother is also pervaded by the man, the father is also pervaded by the man. Can we come to this conclusion? That I am the substratum of all the roles that I am playing? Then you can appreciate that consciousness or the mind is the substratum of all, or the consciousness is the substratum, is the essence, is the Nitya Vastu, which is in and through all the anitya. What is anitya? Coming and going. What is coming and going? Thoughts are coming and going. Which are the thoughts which are coming and going? Put into a nutshell, aham vritti is coming and going and idam vritti is coming and going. This is the dissection that we are doing of a recognize. Only recognition is required. Nothing needs to be done. Conscious is the one consciousness in all beings, that which is one but appears as many, that is one's own essential nature, and that I am. Don't forget that part, otherwise it will remain a concept. Consciousness is not a concept. You are that. Tattvamasi. He who discovers this gains the parashanti, the shanti which is not opposed to ashanti, meaning parashanti, prashanti is that shanti which is transcendental to shanti and ashanti. Satya Sai Baba's abode is called Prashanti Nilayam in Puttaparthi. You find both. You find Shanti also there, see Shanti and you see Ashanti also. But Baba is above both. Where are we? Are we seeking Shanti? Are we running away from Ashanti? Or have we recognized we are of the nature of Prashanti? And that is only possible when we come to the pure consciousness that we are. And this is the prakriya, this is the thinking process. One of the ways. Previous chapter it was another way. Second chapter it was another way. That is what Jnaneshwar Maharaj says here, that pure knowledge is that which establishes the oneness in spite of manyness. We don't have to destroy the manyness. We don't have to shift, delete the manyness. You cannot, because you didn't create it. You cannot catch water only after dissolving all the waves. You cannot catch gold after dissolving, melting all the ornaments. You don't have to. So this idea that I have to dissolve all my thoughts in order to realize that I am pure consciousness is the wrong approach. It may be helpful in the initial stages to wean you away from the world, but not as we move further into ourselves. So whether manyness is there or not there, it does not matter to us. Our focus, our attention, our being is that of pure consciousness, which is one without a second. Are your eyes getting disturbed because of the forms and colors that it is illuminating? One eye, one vision, is it getting disturbed? No. So many words are being bombarded on your ears. Are the ears, the hearing ability, is it getting disturbed? No. So many tastes come to your tongue. Is the tongue getting disturbed? No. Then so many thoughts are coming in the mind. Why is the mind getting disturbed? Why you want to stop the thoughts? Do you say, I want to stop seeing, I want to stop hearing, I want to stop smelling, I want to stop tasting? You never say that. Then why do you want to stop thinking? The mind is called a mind only because it thinks. If it doesn't think, there is no mind. Then it is pure consciousness. And that pure consciousness is not opposed to thinking. That pure consciousness is not opposed to thinking. Think. Can you be that consciousness at this moment, which is not for or against the thoughts that are erupting in the mind at this moment? It is like the knife piercing itself. The piercing object is the knife. The pierced object is also the knife. The knife and its sharpness are not separate. The eye, this is, you know what it is like? The eye contemplating on eye is like the knife trying to pierce itself. The eye thinking of I. And frankly speaking, when I is thinking of something else also, that something else is not separate. It's consciousness, if from a bigger, subtler standpoint, consciousness contemplating on consciousness. This is the piercing. Because consciousness alone became the I, aham and the idam. But we have given so much value to the other. We have crystallized our I to such an extent that we have lost the plot of the generality of the consciousness that we are. The example can be interpreted in another way also by taking the jnanam to mean vritti jnanam. Any attempt to objectify the truth and efforts to understand it through the mind as an object of knowledge is as impossible as it is for a knife to cut itself. Through vritti jnanam, thought knowledge, bheda difference alone is established. So now, can the eye think of the eye? Can the vision illuminate the vision? Is it possible? Can the ear, the hearing ability, listen to the to itself? Can the tongue taste itself? Can the aham contemplate on aham? This technique is given. Who am I? But is it possible? We keep repeating like a parrot. Who am I? Who am I? What am I? Where am I? But is it possible? That we have never looked into. No, Ramana Maharshi did. You mean to say that Ramana Maharshi did not contemplate on who am I? What Ramana Maharshi did, we don't know. I was not born then. Right here and now, is it possible for the vision of my eyes to illuminate the vision Is it possible? No. But is vision there? Yes. Can the manyness of the forms and colors be illuminated without the vision? No. Exactly the same way. Exactly the same way. Can the I illuminate the I? Can the I thought come to know the I thought? I've given this exercise many times. You try with your eyes to see your own eyes, the world will disappear. All the colors and form disappear. So when you try to contemplate on the I, by the I, the aham is contemplating on aham, then what will happen? All idam will disappear. All idam will disappear. All manyness will disappear. But can aham contemplate on aham? That is the question. It is only an attempt. And that attempt is not to prove anything. It is only to create, it is only an exercise by which the onslaught of idam is neutralized. This is one way of looking at it. But when it is saying, can the knife cut itself? No, not possible. Similarly, can the I come to know I? Not possible. Can the wave come to know the water? Not possible. Can the ornament come to know the gold? Not possible. Then what must happen? The idea that I am a wave must go away from the mind of the wave. The idea that I am the ornament must be dissolved in the mind of the ornament. That I am an individual, this idea must be dissolved in our mind. And where this idea is dissolved, there that you are. We are, all these contemplations that are coming here, they are taking you out of your mind. We are thinking by thoughts, by way of thoughts. We are taking support of thoughts. As I am reading, as I am talking, as you are listening, these are all thoughts. But what they are indicating, the ideas that are presented, what they are indicating is the all-inclusive principle. Is that principle which supports all multiplicity, is in and through all multiplicity, yet unaffected, uninfluenced by all multiplicity. That I am. That is this pure consciousness. This is what all these words are indicating, the undifferentiated consciousness. Don't collect data. Be that right now. Any attempt to objectify the truth and efforts to understand it through the mind. Same thing. You cannot objectify the truth. Just like the eyes, the vision cannot objectify the eyes. Not possible. But you know they are there. Same way, the eye cannot objectify the eye. But you know you are. You are alive. You are living. You are consciousness. Any attempt to objectify the truth and efforts to understand it through the mind as an object of knowledge is as impossible as it is for a knife to cut itself. See what type of example Jnaneshwar Maharaj has given. Through vritti jnanam, thought knowledge, bheda difference alone is established. So as long as we are thinking, even if we are thinking of the I again and again, it is only, we are still in the mind only. And who are we? Who is in spite of the mind. And the moment you take that position, who is in spite of the mind, then that one is one without a second. It's supporting not only this mind, it's supporting all the minds, yet uninfluenced by any mind. So this obsession with I am this, I am that, I am a husband, I am a wife, I am a body, I am a... Drop the past. The quicker you do it, the more these convictions will have no sway over you then. Don't bring your past again and again. Expose yourself to this knowledge, either from a teacher or, if you have the capacity, sit with it, with yourself, without getting distracted, and contemplate. So vritti jnanam, knowledge through thoughts, only establishes differences. Thought free knowledge, knowledge not of the world, thought free knowledge that I am, establishes the oneness, is the true fulfillment. But pure knowledge always goes back again and again to its original state of equilibrium, the undifferentiated state where there is absence of phalavyapti, that is, there is no knower of the knowledge. This pure knowledge is gained by him who has the inner vision. When we are focused, when we are available to this general principle of consciousness, that it is transcendental yet immanent in and through the water, is transcendental to all the oceans and waves, yet immanent in and through, supporting all the oceans and waves, but transcendental, unaffected. Because where are the oceans and waves? Only on the surface. Waves are only on the surface. Water is much more. So dive into yourself and find out how deep you go. You'll find the deeper you go, the periphery thoughts of the world will just not affect you at all. See, when we go to sleep, we are going back to that state where we are not affected by anything. Between two thoughts, we go into that space where we are not affected by anything. We are not affected by the thoughts. But this is happening by default. When we tell you, then you say, yes, that is happening. Between every two thoughts, there is no thought. Here, Swamiji says, but pure knowledge always goes back again and again to its original state of equilibrium. This is at the relative level, at the mind level. Between the two thoughts, mind is not agitated. It's in equilibrium. It's in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, equilibrium. But are you recognizing it? Are you recognizing it? That you are in equilibrium between two thoughts. That you are the one who is unaffected by appearance of thought and disappearance of thought. Do you recognize that? With reference to yourself, the pure consciousness. Or have you considered, I am the mind, and if my thoughts are coming and going, I am also coming and going. Waking is coming and going, I am also coming and going. Dream is coming and going, I am coming and going. That's pathetic existence. One can never be happy that way. So mind by nature always, it may be thinking many things, but it always is coming back to equilibrium. Catch it. There you are. And what is this equilibrium? The undifferentiated state where there is absence of phala-vyapti. That where there is absence of phala-vyapti, there is no conclusion. At a very relative level, conclusion is a thought. Thought is a conclusion. Is there a conclusion between two thoughts? Relatively speaking, no. But you didn't know that till I bring this information to you. Now you will be, arey yeah, there is no thought there, no conclusion. But when I say that space between two thoughts is absence, and thoughts are presence of thought and absence of thoughts. Do you know that? Yes. Who knows that? That you are. Then suddenly you start, absence is also a thought only because I know it. I am observing it, that there is nothing there. See? The undifferentiated state where there is absence of phala-vyapti. We have to think such thoughts which do not lead to any conclusion. Eternity, infinity, all pervasiveness, one without a second, union of individual and infinite, aham brahmasmi, sarvam khalvidam brahma. All these are thoughts. You only know it through thoughts. But these are thoughts which do not lead to any conclusion. Then what will happen when you contemplate on them? What they mean? The thinker will vanish. If he is subject, and he will vanish only if he is subjective. Acha, Kaivalya I am. Acha, one without a second I am. Acha, undifferentiated I am. Oh, I am one. Keep contemplating. The individual will. What is happening? As he said before, the experiencer and the experienced become one in the experiencing. So I, contemplating on I, the experiencer, what do I want to know? What do I want to experience? Myself. What am I contemplating on? Myself. Which myself? Which is not tethered by anything, which is beyond thoughts, which is in and through the thoughts, which is unaffected by the thoughts. And I'm contemplating, is that self possible, which does not have a form, which does not have a quality, which does not have an attribute? Is it possible to contemplate on something like that? Can it lead to any conclusion? The individual vanishes. Meaning, he merges into that. When you think of sleep, do you think of some object? Nothing is not an object. Sleep is zero mind state. Is it an object of contemplation? No. And yet, every night, life is giving you a chance to recognize yourself. The life is pushing you in that direction every night. Do it consciously. No phalavyapti. Phalavyapti, no conclusion. No precipitation of thought. Thought is phalavyapti. Thought has a beginning. Thought has an end. Thought has a form. This is the phala. Precipitation of a thought, appearance of a thought is phala, is the result. We have to get away. When we contemplate on the self, if you say, oh, this I am, phalavyapti, gaye kaam se. Can't come to any conclusion. And yet we are. It is not, what we are talking here cannot, you think you are understanding, and it is good if you are thinking that way, but it must lead to going beyond understanding and not understanding. That is your true position. It must lead to that position which is beyond presence of thoughts and absence of thoughts, which is not opposed to thoughts, yet independent of thoughts. It is that position which alone is appearing as thoughts, yet not in the clutches of thoughts, meaning mind. That is the undifferentiated consciousness. And that is our true nature. That is our essence. देखो अब आगे क्या पढ़ना है इसके बाद. The pure knowledge is gained by him who has the inner vision. This is the inner vision we are talking about. This is not to be taught to others. This is not to be observed in others. This is the inner vision. This is your disposition. This is your standpoint, initial stages, and you continue in that, unaffected by what the world is throwing at you, unaffected by what the mind is throwing at you. And your unaffectedness by what mind is throwing at you by way of memories, desires, expectations, etc., etc., is direct. The strength to face that will come by us being available to this inner vision. It will immune us from all the thought waves. We are only getting disturbed because we have considered we are individual. This inner vision is making us available to ourselves, who is the undifferentiated consciousness, infinite consciousness, eternal consciousness, one without a second, where these thoughts, the presence or absence of thoughts has got no impact. Thoughts will have no impact only when we have recognized that we are all that there is. The self, pure consciousness is all that there is directly. Only then we will not be affected by thoughts. But as long as individuality is maintained, till then thoughts will continue to persecute us. You can trick the mind and go into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, but when you come out again the thoughts are there to trouble you. We are not looking to go to Nirvikalpa Samadhi. If it happens, it's okay. We want continuous, undifferentiated consciousness that I am. How Jnana Vritti, having destroyed Ajnana Vritti, gets destroyed itself and thereafter only pure knowledge remains is explained through examples. How the thought knowledge, having destroyed the Ajnana, how the thoughts of knowledge, having destroyed the thoughts of ignorance, then this thoughts of knowledge, they also get destroyed by themselves. See? Because thoughts of knowledge, so right now what is happening? We are talking about undifferentiated consciousness, we are talking about eternal consciousness, we are talking about vritti rahit aham, we are talking about the subject contemplating on the subject, we are talking about the pure consciousness which is the abhinna nimitta upadana karan, we are talking about the consciousness which is transcendental yet immanent in and through the through the changing. All these are words. On one hand is the multiplicity of the thoughts of the world, and on the other hand the eternal, the one without a second, the unchanging, the unborn, the undying. All these words are indicating that self. All these are adjectives given to that oneself. It's still a thought. But when we get fired up with this idea initially, that I am that pure consciousness, that eternal consciousness, then to that extent, and I have faith, I believe, because scriptures are saying, Guru Maharaj is saying, then my attraction to the worldly thoughts diminishes. These thoughts, just like your your focus on the thought of sleep diminishes, dissolves all the thoughts of the waking without you doing anything. But the thought of sleep is still there. That also needs to be dissolved, because that was also a thought only, no? That I have to sleep, I have to sleep, I have to sleep. That I am sleeping, I am sleeping. Just कहीं पे वो सोचते सोचते where you and the sleep become one, or you get absorbed into the sleep. So the one who wanted to sleep, he cannot sleep till he is having thoughts of the waking. But he continues, in spite of the thoughts of the waking, he continues to think of the thought of sleep, and eventually a point comes when the last thought of the waking world leaves him. Then only the thought of sleep is there. But when the last thought of the waking world leaves, then he doesn't need to think of sleep, because the thought of sleep was only to dissolve, so that focus was required, so that the impact of the thoughts of the world can be neutralized. When they are neutralized, the thought of the sleep also dies, dissolves. Then the waker who was thinking of sleep, now that will be the last thought. He is using that thought to counteract the thoughts of the world. And when the last thought of the world has gone, the thought of the sleep also dies with it. And this is what we call as sleep. We get absorbed into the undifferentiated, ignorant. We get absorbed into undifferentiated consciousness, but we don't know it. That is called sleep. Because there are no differences there in the sleep. There is no body consciousness. There is no past and future. There is no birth and death. There are no relations, positions. There are no gods. There is no sin and merit. There is no prarabdha, sanchit, agami, karma. Undifferentiated consciousness. But you are under the spell of ignorance. Now, if you understood the prakriya, the methodology, how we go to sleep, this is what is this verse going to tell us. Thoughts of the world, idam vritti. We contemplate on the undifferentiated consciousness. How do we catch the undifferentiated consciousness? Through aham vritti. That this aham is in essence the undifferentiated consciousness. So why are we thinking of undifferentiated consciousness? To neutralize that all other thoughts, all idam is neutralized by focusing on this. So contemplate joyfully, with abandonment, time pass करते हुए contemplate करते रहो. And as we keep contemplate, when the last idam, last thought of the world dissolves, that very moment the I thought will also do, because aham is surviving only because of idam. If there is no idam, aham has got no meaning. As a thought. If there is no wife, husband has got no meaning. But stupid people still write late husband, when they write about their wife, late Mrs. so and so, or widowed or something. All this is stupidity. Still attached to what is bygone. So subject is called subject only with reference to object. If there is no object, how can subject be called a subject? Aham is called aham only with respect to idam. If there is no idam, there is no reason to call aham as aham. Then what remains? Undifferentiated consciousness, infinite consciousness. See? Catch this. Thereafter, only pure knowledge. Pure knowledge is undifferentiated consciousness. लावी आत ठाऊनी कोपट तो साधी आपणया सगट का बांधला चोरट मोटे माझी. Having locked oneself inside and setting the house on fire would destroy the house along with the person, or a thief hiding himself inside a gunny bag is cased along with the loot. This is the example through an example. This is explained through an example. If someone locks himself inside a house and sets the house on fire, he will also be destroyed along with the house. In the same way, since knowledge has existence in ignorance, when the latter gets destroyed by knowledge, knowledge also gets destroyed. So, what are we calling ignorance? Remember, thoughts which take us away from the self are thoughts of ignorance. Thoughts which take us towards the self are thoughts of knowledge. But both are thoughts. And thoughts by nature are expressions of ignorance. Then why are we thinking of thoughts of the self? Because they are helpful, they are sattvic. They help us overcome the enticement of the thoughts of the world. But when the thoughts of the world die in toto, then the thoughts of knowledge also die with them. When there is no object to be perceived, to be interacted with, to be owned, to have association, to be identified with, the subject also dies. Isn't that happening? When there are no object, no thoughts of the waking, the waker also dies. Only then sleep begins. True or not? As long as how long will the waker be waker? As long as even one single thought of the waking is present. When the last thought of the waking is gone, the waker also vanishes with it. And how did he bring that about? The dissolution. While the waker thought of sleep. And what is sleep? It is beyond the waker. Waker can never experience sleep, yet he is thinking of sleep. The individual can never come to know the individual consciousness, yet he is thinking of the infinite consciousness. Yet he is thinking about the undifferentiated consciousness. Can he ever come to know? No. He has to dissolve. So the waker was thinking of the thought of the sleep in the waking to counteract all the thoughts of the waking, all other thoughts of the waking. Why did he do that? Because he has collected some data. What is that data? Sleep is blissful. Sleep is that where I let go of all the responsibilities. Sleep is that where I I'm not even aware of the disease, of the pain, of the duties, of the responsibilities, of the projects, of nothing is available there. And it's blissful, man. Now you collect data about yourself. Who are you? Infinite, undifferentiated consciousness. Who are you? Unborn. Who are you? Undying. Who are you? Self-illumined. Who are you? Self-knowing. Get fired up. Get fired up. This is called lighting the fire in your own house. That example. So you have put your mind on fire. When it starts contemplating on the infinite, it has put it on fire. Because world is pulling you this way. You want to go towards that which you don't know, yet you are. And you have faith in it. The world will keep pulling you, and you keep friction, pull, pain, obstacles, difficulties, doubts, yet you keep working towards that which is indicated by the scriptures as your true nature. And this is called tapasya. Tapasya generates fire. In the fire everything burns. What burns? Subject and the objects will burn. Objectivity will burn. And when objectivity is completely burned, the subject will also burn away. Then what will remain? Subject as a thought will burn. Correction. As an idea, as a thought. Then what will remain? Subject without a thought. I without a thought. In Sanskrit, vritti rahit aham. Aham is there. How can I vanish? I continues, but without a thought. I without a thought is the undifferentiated consciousness, is the infinite consciousness. Another example is given. When a thief hides inside a gunny bag, he is caught along with the loot. In the same way, having destroyed ignorance, knowledge is also ready for destruction. Meaning, the I is also ready for destruction. I as a thought is also ready for destruction. We only know knowledge through thoughts. Understand this. We only know ourselves through thoughts. We only have knowledge, I am. How do you know I am? Because I am saying I am. But do you know that you are if you don't say I am? Yes or no? You continue, no? Expose yourself to this more often. This was only 10 seconds. More. Again and again. Not with a desire for anything. Just be. Further examples are given. आगी पोता साचे निमिसे आपण पे जाळिले जैसे ज्ञानाज्ञान नाशे तैसे झाले. Having burnt the camphor, the fire dies itself. Similarly, having destroyed the ignorance, knowledge also disappears. This example we have given you before also. Jnaneshwar Maharaj has given to us before. We light the camphor, the fuel is the camphor, and as long as the camphor is there, till then the light will continue. Camphor is inert. Okay, camphor is the fuel, and as long as the fuel is there, till then the flame is there, light is there. But when the last bit of camphor flickers and goes away. Along with that, the light also goes away. Same way, replace camphor, having destroyed the ignorance, knowledge also does. Camphor is the ignorance. That ignorance expresses as sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. Here knowledge is sattvic. All thoughts are of under the umbrella of ignorance. Ignorance alone is appearing as the thoughts. But in that, we are counteracting the tamasic and rajasic thoughts by the thoughts of sattva. Thoughts of sattva are knowledge, higher knowledge. Thoughts of tamas and rajas are lower knowledge. But when we have counteracted, neutralized, transcended the thoughts, dissolved the thoughts of tamas and rajas, then we don't need the sattva also. Sattva also will dissolve away. The I will also dissolve away. Like that camphor, when it finishes, the flame also goes away. Same way, this I, who was contemplating on pure consciousness, why? To counteract the thoughts of the world, to counteract the thoughts of objectivity, idam. And the moment idam is neutralized, the subject I also vanishes, dissolves. The flame also goes away. This is what is told. We'll begin how, when knowledge grows to its full extent, it destroys itself. So, this topic, we'll see it in our next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.